Everyone remembers the shocking moment when O.J. Simpson was acquitted of the double murders of his wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ron Goldman. But there have been many other shocking acquittals. And here to discuss their cases and where they are now is defense attorney Jonna Spilbor. So, Jonna, let's start with Snoop Dogg, who almost faced a long prison term in the 90s for murder. What happened here?
Indeed. So before Snoop Dogg achieved the wild success that he has today, he was actually a co-defendant in a murder case stemming from the 1993 shooting death of an alleged gang member outside of Snoop's home. Now, he had two things going for him at the time. The first was he wasn't the actual trigger man. Snoop's bodyguard is the one who allegedly shot the victim. And number two, speaking of O.J. Simpson, Snoop Dogg was represented by famed attorney Johnny Cochran, who was fresh off the O.J. win. Jury came back and acquitted both of them based on the defense of self-defense.
Okay, so Snoop had a great defense team. How did the trial affect Snoop Dogg's rapping career?
You know, it didn't slow it down one bit, Jesse, because actually sales were boosted by about $5 million following his murder trial. And as you know, today he's worth over $135 million. He's got his hand in a lot of different entertainment venues. Snoop Dogg is probably one of the most prolific entertainers of our time.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg definitely doing okay. All right, the next surprising acquittal, William Kennedy Smith, nephew to the late President JFK. He was on trial for rape back in 1991, and the nation was riveted to this televised trial. What happened in this case?
All right, so this was a case where girl meets boy goes horribly wrong. William Kennedy Smith, as you know, the nephew of the late President John F. Kennedy, met somebody in a bar. They were having a great time. As people often do, he takes her back to his place, which happens to be a palatial estate in Florida. The next thing you know, she's claiming that he raped her. He's claiming we were on a date. Everything was consensual. This trial ensued, and one of the reasons why it was so riveting is back in 1991, we were not so used to having these televised trials. We weren't in courtrooms like we are today. But it took a jury only 77 minutes, which is no time in jury deliberation speak, to acquit him completely. They believed that this was a consensual encounter and not rape.
So he was acquitted very, very quickly. Where is William Kennedy Smith now?
So he's followed in his family's footsteps. He got married, he has two kids, and he's working in Washington, D.C. as an elected neighborhood advisory commissioner. Basically, he's performing civic duties throughout the neighborhood.
Just like his family always did. Okay, our next shocking acquittal, R. Kelly. The R&B star was acquitted of child pornography charges back in 2008 in a highly controversial case. Jonna, what happened there?
So this was interesting because not only were these charges so serious, but the DA actually didn't have a victim. Why do I say that? Was there a tape that showed R. Kelly in compromising positions with another person? Yes. Was that person alleged to have been 13 years old? Yes. But when it came time to try this case, there was no victim, and the victim's parents wouldn't come forward either. So the DA was left in this untenable position to try to prove that the person depicted in the video was actually a 13-year-old girl, and they didn't have the 13-year-old girl or her parents to prove it. That meant reasonable doubt for R. Kelly, and he walked away scot-free.
Okay, it hasn't been smooth sailing for R. Kelly ever since, though. He has since faced other accusations of sexual misconduct. What has this all done to his career?
You know, it didn't seem to bother it too much. R. Kelly is still a very successful musician, and he's been plagued by these accusations, including that he ran a sex cult, but no other charges have ensued since the 2008 case.
John, I want to thank you so much for joining us and providing your insight on all these very, very public cases.